Good morning again. About to watch all of the announcements. I think they're like a half hour long, so let's get into it.
Welcome to the Diablo 20th Anniversary panel.
Welcome to my realm of terror.
Diablo to me is atmosphere wrapped with action.
Constant action.
Diablo is stories.
Diablo is loot.
Magic loot.
Cool loot.
Fat loot.
Diablo is the ultimate epic, dark, gothic, scary fight between heaven and hell.
No one would know where that's from, probably.
Diablo was a new style of game for us.
Blizzard's making an RPG. Why would you do that? RPGs are dead.
We want to take the twist of turning
Diablo,
a turn-based role-playing game into
killing
a
stuff.
real-time role-playing game.
And it made it fast-paced, it made it immersive.
It wasn't something that you would have to invest millions of hours in because you're trying to answer the questions of this story that's going on. You invest millions of hours in Diablo because it's fun to play.
Who doesn't remember some of their best boss fights?
My favorite boss fight is Belial.
Belial,
Duriel.
Malthael.
The Butcher.
The Butcher.
the Butcher.
The Butcher. Fresh meat.
I think my favorite boss fight is
Like, what was that? And this guy
think
comes
my favorite
out,
boss fight was
chop.
We
Who's
wanted to
Duriel?
feel a little bit nervous, a little bit scared.
when he charged
Core of
at
the
you
Diablo experience
and you had
is
no
that
idea what was
terror,
going on.
That horror that's there.
That was a
There's really
wrap.
two stories going on. There's the story of the game, the story of the ascent of humanity. And of course, on the other hand, there's the player story. The story of staying up way later than you should have.
If I could just get to that next waypoint.
Like,
Guilty.
oh man, I'm super close to leveling. Okay, you know that boss is right around the corner.
Before I knew it, it was dark.
Guilty of
Okay,
all
I'm just
that.
gonna play to this last area, and I'm gonna close this out.
I called in sick to work that very first day, the very first time I installed Diablo. I finished the whole game in one sitting.
You're invited to just come in and stay a while.
Well,
Decker Kane says it. Stay
well,
a while and listen.
Stay a while and listen.
I was just finishing up high school, so
Stay a
I
while.
wasn't playing the whole
Stay
game
a
in
while.
one sitting.
Stay a
That wouldn't
while
happen.
and no, I can't do it.
Stay a while and listen.
What makes Diablo fun is getting that awesome piece of gear.
For the first time you saw that
Stay a
amazing
while.
item,
And it's
And
got the
listen.
stats you're looking for.
you know, just completely changed how you thought about your character.
Then when suddenly someone turns their hostile flag on and then kills half the team when they're in the middle of a boss fight.
I just died.
I don't get to get revenge on the bastard who killed me.
Coming this close to killing Diablo,
Missing the treasure goblin?
having to do it all over again.
But then finally doing it, that's also what makes it satisfying.
Whatever.
I actually would like to see
We know the
Diablo
cow level's
harder.
real.
I think that there were a lot of things
already
that
made
took
it real.
a while for people to discover and find.
And it was
Best
real
kept
in
secrets
person.
of Diablo. Well,
Secrets.
There is no cow level. Cow level? No, I'm sure there's no cow level.
Of course there's a cow level.
That doesn't really sound very Diablo to me.
I know there's the answer I'm supposed to say.
I would have to deny all existence of the cow level.
I would have to deny the existence of a cow level. I've played the cow level.
That sounds utterly ridiculous.
Frankly, I don't appreciate the rumor.
Maybe.
Diablo has a legacy. We're celebrating a 20-year anniversary, and people are still playing this game.
There's all these amazing stories of how people have made these connections.
I remember we got a letter from somebody saying like, hey, I met this person playing Diablo. We're going to get married.
I've given a copy of the game to one of my friends every time, and because he's far away, I can only really interact with him at times just to say, hey, what's going on, through Diablo. And I think about that bond, that friendship, like that's massive.
We come to work with the best people, and day in
So,
and day out.
how many of you
What's our
guys been
goal?
playing
To make
Diablo
things explode in blood and treasure.
since the
and I
beginning?
can't
Since
think of a better
what?
job that you could have, and I'm so excited to come in every day.
I just want to say thanks to
I have
all of
been,
the players.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A few of my
Thank
close
you.
friends have
Thank
been
you
because
so
we used to play
much.
online
Thank
with
you
each
so
other
much.
back
Thank
when
you
there
for
was
20
dial-up.
years of Diablo.
We'll see you in hell.
Man, dial-up.
Hello, BlizzCon.
Welcome to the 20th anniversary panel for Diablo 3. Before we get started, we have a few new things today. We have a lot of new stuff tomorrow as well. I do want to take a moment and introduce our panelists. My name is Kevin Martins. I'm the lead designer of Diablo 3. With me, I have Wyatt Chang, senior designer, Mr. John Mueller, our art director, and Julian Love, the lead visual effects artist.
So I'm way
Give him a round of applause.
Since I just saw the trailer. But I guess that's okay.
So, real quick, we've got three parts here. We're going to talk about the anniversary event, the Darkening of Tristram, where it came from,
Diablo
why it's
1.
there, what it does. We're going to have a new feature, the Armory feature, unveiled today. And we're going to do a deep dive on the Necromancer. A lot of information, art, new skills, all sorts of things there. So even if you played the Necromancer, we've got new things to show you today. All right, so 20 years. How many of you played Diablo 1? Well, thank you very much, and welcome to our 20th anniversary. It has been a crazy time for us. All of us on the Diablo 3 team are big fans of Diablo 1 and 2. That's why we're here. I know you guys are too, so thank you for this journey with us so far. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Diablo 1 was released in December 31st of 1996, though Mike Morheim tells me that unless you lived in Irvine, where the discs were physically being distributed, you probably didn't play it until January. And it was released in one language.
They came out the same
And
year?
the reason I have an asterisk there is we did a lot more with that later. A lot of fan mods came out to add other languages to it. The game became a lot more popular, I think, than Blizzard expected, which is awesome. This was the same year that the Nintendo 64 came out. And that's the fact that made me feel super old. You know, it doesn't feel like 20 years ago. I remember playing that game and calling in sick to work, and I don't feel that much older, but clearly, from this slide, I am. In tech news, this was the year that in chess, the IBM Deep Blue computer was beaten by Garry Kasparov, right? So humans won, we beat the AI, awesome. But in 97, the computer AI did beat Garry Kasparov, which I'm sure is a fine sign for the future of humanity, and we have nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. This was the year that Diablo came out on BattleNet.
Yeah, Diablo 1 came out in 1996, and back then the internet was still young, and it wasn't common for games to have an integrated matchmaking service for online play. So we wanted to make it really clear that when you bought Diablo, the BattleNet service was going to help you play with other people. This is also, if you remember, those of you who played Diablo 1, you had 7 inventory slots, or 7 equip slots. You didn't have a belt because you didn't have any pants. The inventory was 40 squares big, but most of the items took up 6 different spaces. And of course, gold took up space in your inventory as well. You'd have these piles of 5,000 gold taking up space in your inventory. Skills were different in Diablo 1 as well. You didn't learn skills from a skill tree.
So painful.
You got them from skill books. And then you put, once you had learned the skill, you could then put it on. And for those of you who can remember way back, you had to have enough magic skill in order to learn it. And that number, of course, many will remember, went up to 255.
So fast forward to June of
Diablo
2000
2.
when Diablo 2 came out.
Ton of fun.
And we had grown a lot.
Diablo 1
it
was all
released
about
in 9
mods
languages,
and
up
trainers.
from 1, which is quite
This
a
is where
significant
Diablo 2
increase.
became a lot of fun.
And 640 by 40 resolution seemed like all anyone would ever need. That was perfectly fine. And I joke about this because this was a huge deal at the time. People wanted 800 by 600, and I think that at that point we were just barely desperate to get this game out, right? A lot of work had been put in. And this was the year that the PS2 came out, which was a huge deal for gaming as well. So a lot of milestones that year. That was also the year that computer AIs did try to kill us all. So thank you, engineers, for saving us from that, the evil overlord there. Good job. And then a year later, in June of 2001, Lord of Destruction came out, which was a huge improvement over Diablo 2.
A lot of fun.
And 800 by 600 resolution saved everything. It was all we would ever need. And this was the year that BattleNet improved dramatically as well.
Yeah, online support continued to improve.
BattleNet was so
we
much
had
fun.
ladders that were added in Diablo 2,
Paladins
which allowed
were so much fun.
everyone to play together, as well as improved online services,
Druids
as well as
were
the
different. I
mini
never played
models
Druids
where
a
you can
lot,
actually see previews
but
of the people who are in the same
I saw
chat
some of them
channel
that were
as you.
really, really sick.
The equip slots continue to evolve. Still no pants, but we did add a belt, and this belt had special functionality. It held your potions. And many of you will remember that, you know, joyous moment on a new character when you got that 4th row of potions, and you were so happy to have that 4th row that you could have. And we also added a special gold counter and gold in your stash, and the amount of gold you could carry was limited by your character level. And the skill system continued to evolve. Some of you may recognize the skill tree bonus points for those of you, Necromancer, recognize the skill tree from Diablo 2. And that way you could, rather than being randomly assigned from skill books, you could pick the skills that you wanted.
All right,
That was a good day.
fast forward again
I used to
May of
hit up the Chant
2012, and we've
Sorceress all day
apologized
long.
before for how
Late
long
game.
that took. Sorry again about that.
That's all I wanted to play was
We
Chant
released in
Sorceress
12
and melee
languages.
things.
So as Blizzard had grown, Diablo had grown. As the game industry had grown, Diablo had grown. This story, this 20 years, is kind of a story of all of us. It's not just about Diablo. Things got bigger. This is the year that the Mayan calendar tried to kill us all. Now, not the Mayans. The calendar, I presume, was going to fall on us because it's heavy, but we prevented that as well. Console for Diablo 3, that was something that was very important to us. It took us about 14 months, but in September of 2013, the game came out on Xbox 360 and PS3. So naturally, Microsoft and Sony responded by releasing the next generation of consoles in November of that year. So we answered back by releasing Reaper of Souls and then Ultimate Evil Edition and bringing it up to 5 platforms and adding one more language, Japanese, for a
Reaper of
total
Souls.
of 13 languages. So Diablo has gotten way, way bigger.
Still playing it.
Online support continued to improve and level up with the addition of clans and communities in Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls, as well as the friends list you've come to know and love, with support not just within Diablo but across all Blizzard titles, allowing you to communicate and see the online presence of your friends who are playing World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and other games. Our inventory augmented now to 13 items, including pants.
You know, I have to say, for those of you who adventured for like 16 years without pants, we salute you. Good job.
Yeah, I apologize that we were a little bit behind on that. And then gold also became auto pickup, and you could hold as much as you want. And then the skill system continued to evolve.
The rune
6
system was really
active
smart.
skills,
Like it a lot.
5 skill
Lots
runes
of different
each,
ways to go,
dedicated place
especially
for your
once
passives that
they
you could
start
choose.
balancing them.
The skill system
Made the
now
game way
allowed
more fun
players
because
to
you could try
customize
so
their
many
character builds in a multitude of ways.
So happy anniversary, Diablo. And thank you. And what would a 20th anniversary be without an in-game party? Let's take a look at the Darkening of Tristram events.
Okay.
So, in the beginning, this was a totally different thing. So we were just going to add the classic music tracks to the game. So as you were playing adventure mode in Tristram, you'd hear this song. You'd hear some of the other songs as you wander around doing bounties or rifts.
That'd be a
that
lot
was
of
going to be cool. We'd have a party here. That video you watched, it was all going to be good. But that was not enough for this team. So instead of just the music tracks, you're getting 16 dungeon levels plus the boss level. All 4 of the bosses recreated, both the models and the AI of those bosses, all presented in glorious pixelated retrovision, and we're giving you lots of anniversary presents. So the Darkening of Tristram, at this point, the things to watch for are, as Frank mentioned, we took out most of the animations, or about 25% of the movement animations. So the character walks around all stilted, and they don't have turn animations. The run animation's gone completely. The camera's changed to make it feel more 2D. The audio is tinny on purpose, so it sounds like the 1990s. Our tech director told me that we're not trying to recreate 1996 because Diablo's engine was actually really advanced for its time, so you really had to capture that late 1997 sound. So that's what we've gone for here. All right, I'm just going to shut up and show you. I do want to say one thing, though. On these big monitors, it turns out that the pixelation doesn't really come across very well, so maybe pay attention more to the animations and the sound, and when you play it next week on PTR, you'll see the retrovision in all its glory. There he is, heading to the Tristram Cathedral. Okay, so combat is Diablo 3, but the movement and everything is straight from the 90s. We've taken all of the levels that most closely match those of the 4 different major looks of Diablo 1. We've recreated the monsters, with the ones that look closest to it. In some cases, we did art changes. They have new AIs, so they match the monsters from there. Like, we always had the Fallen family, for example, but now we have all the variants, and they have more simplistic AI than they do in D3.
That looks really cool.
And the retro UI is one thing you can't see in that movie. This was another example of something that was out of scope for this, but this mode just kept scope creeping like crazy. It was good. One of our artists, Josh Manning, found out we were going to cut this part of it. He's like, okay, well, I'll do it. So he grabbed a team of people. They did it largely on their own time, just so you guys could get this little feeling from it.
That's cool.
When this event happens, you're going to see this pentagram near the old ruins, and when you go there, you're going to find this portal near the fountain. And you enter it, and everything gets crappy. So, in the Retrovision Old Tristram, look around. There's a ton of Easter eggs there, and a lot of stuff ties into what you find in the dungeon, and you're going to unlock some mysteries. So, the presents we have for you.
All right, so what do we get?
First up, we have cosmetic items like portraits that are based on those original health and mana globes from Diablo 1. We've got a banner and a sigil to commemorate this event. You can earn this every year. And we have pets. Of course we have pets. So, bit of a spoiler, the butcher's in the game.
Have to get it.
This is Baby Butcher. And instead of a teddy bear, he's got a little piece of meat that he chews on. We presume it's fresh, but nobody wants to get close enough to find out. And he'll follow you around, so you can earn him.
I have to get it.
I think you can imagine how you get him. And of course, at the end, the cinematic plays. Why might that be important? Because every character class, including the Necromancer, gets a transmog of the Soul Stone in their skull, because this is our first helmet slot legendary gem, which is the soul of Diablo from Diablo 1, and it unleashes a ring of fire that you can't control the demonic energy within you every so often. So our first helmet slot legendary with that transmog for every character class, male and female.
Wow. That worked leg.
Thank
and
you. And
right,
for weapon transmogs, of course, we have classic Butcher's Cleaver and Wirt's Wooden Leg. Wait, you might say. Don't we already have Wirt's Leg in the game? We do, because now, when it advances, now you can dual wield Wirt's legs, both his wooden one and his original skeleton one.
Nice.
And I think the guilt meter with what we've done to Wirt at this point is very high, so maybe we're not going to do any more to him in the future.
That's really nice.
All right, since you already know the butchers in the game, I did want to show you one of the 4 bosses. And that exactly mirrors my experience when I first found the butcher in Diablo 1.
Before I first died, it was the butcher.
All right.
All of a sudden, he just said.
So here's an example of what we've done to the bosses. So the ones that you already know, like Skeleton King and Butcher, their art has been redone to look more like the 90s versions of them. So that's just one example of the 4 bosses. And of course, Lazarus we had to create because he's not currently in the game. So, of course, when can you play this? It goes on PTR next week, but this is patch 243, and it has more than just the anniversary event, including a bunch of items that we're going to unveil tomorrow at our Day 2 panel, so please come to that. Lastly, the event goes live worldwide in January, and this will be an annual event. So every January, for the month of January, approximately, the Darkening of Tristram event will be live, and you can earn all of these rewards, and all of the ones I didn't tell you about, which I hope you find next week. All right, and of course, this is on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So now I want to pass it over to Wyatt to talk about the Armory.
Please let me have a place to put said items. Please let me have a place to put said items.
Kevin.
Please let that be what the Armory is.
So we have a lot in store for you in 2017. As Kevin mentioned, there's the anniversary event. And in a little bit, you're going to hear more about the Necromancer. But for some of you, I think that the biggest feature coming in 2017 might actually be something we haven't talked yet a lot about, which is the Armory.
All right, I'm ready.
Now, I know some of you are wondering, what's the Armory?
Please let it be a place to put set items.
Let me set the stage. Have you ever been out as a monk in a dashing rift set, dashing strike monk set, but you actually wanted to put on your Uliana's gear? So you have to swap your items, and swap all your skills. By the time you're done, your group doesn't need you anymore. We're gonna fix that.
So they're gonna let us create like custom sets where we can just go.
You guessed it.
Yep.
We have a full equipment
5 loadouts?
manager coming in a future patch in 2017. You're going to be able to save 5 loadouts per character. All your skills, all your
5 loadouts
passives,
per
all your
character?
items, Kanai Cube powers, everything is saved for you. Let's take a look at what that looks like.
Okay, I'm
So
ready.
here, we want to save our Dashing Strike set. You can see the Armory is located right next to the stash.
Okay.
You can name the set the way
you
that
can
you
name
want
it?
so that you can remember what it is later. Once you've saved it, you can inspect it to remind yourself what items were in there, what Kanai Cube powers you had, what passives you had selected. Later on, when you want to retrieve that set, let's say that you just came back from doing some rifts as an Uliana, and now you want to go back to your Dashing Strike set. You switch back to your Dashing Strike set, hit a single button. Here it comes. Boom, just like that, done.
Yes.
Now you're ready to go off in your Dashing Strike set.
Yes.
There's a lot of details we had to work out to get this to work properly, a lot of questions people have. What happens to my Paragon points? You know, it's interesting, we actually don't save your Paragon points, but it's for a good reason. You're constantly earning Paragon levels, and we didn't want it to be that we saved your Paragon
That
point
makes sense. It doesn't make
distribution
sense
and
to
then you
save
come
Paragon
back
points
just 20
because
minutes later, you've gotten 2 extra Paragon
you're
points.
earning
You have to
them, so yeah, that makes
reallocate
perfect
those 2 points and save it again.
Yeah.
It was actually more inconvenient. We want this to be a convenient feature for you. How about my gems? I've got lots of different gems. We actually remember the engineer who was in charge of the feature, Mr. Kevin Hassett, he wanted to make sure that this feature did exactly what you wanted. So if you put in some Marquise rubies, but then later on when you come back to a set, you've actually upgraded to Flawless Royal, it'll grab those Flawless Royal rubies for you and put those in automatically.
What?
Now, some people wondered, well,
That's
I have
nice
to
for gems.
swap
That's
gems
really
back
nice.
and forth. How do I pay for it? Because I don't want to have to, you know, we want to be able to swap back and forth, but moving those rubies around every time costs money, right? No, it doesn't, not anymore. Because starting in a future patch with the Armory, we're removing the unsocketing costs. We want you to have no reason at all not to swap back and forth between all the
Wow.
sets and
Well, I mean,
toys
it's not
that
like
you've
money was an
accumulated.
object. I mean,
We're
really
doing the same
matters,
thing for
but-
your legendary
Wow.
gems. Let's say that you've got your Bane of the Trapped, and you're going to level it up. Or you use one for an augment. It'll go to whatever your highest ranked gem is.
That's cool. So
of
it'll
the
go to the
type
highest
that you
ranked
saved
legendary
at the
gem
time
that
you
we've
wanted
got.
to
Okay.
save your set. Everything is handled for you. And of course, the Armory is coming to both PC and console. Here's a quick shot of the console implementation.
Yes.
So up next, to talk about the Necromancer, I'd like to introduce Mr.
Thank
John
you, Lewis.
Mueller, our art director, who,
The Armory.
fun fact,
Yes.
did the design for the
We've
shirt
won.
that I'm wearing right now.
We've
This is
won.
a Diablo dev team shirt. So if you see anybody on the show floor wearing this shirt, they're going to be a member of the development team. It's got this cool design on the back for the Dark Wanderers. They want to talk to you. All the members of the Diablo team want to talk to you. So if you see somebody wearing this shirt, go up to them, say hi, tell them what you're looking forward to in a future patch. So I'm going to pass it off to John. But before we do that, in case you haven't seen it yet, first we're going to play the Necromancer reveal cinematic.
Okay, get to watch it again. That's cool.
Death has ravaged our world. And the balance that sustained us has been lost.
I'm stoked about the Armory.
We feared this day
They
would
could
come.
have made an expansion and just had the Armory.
When the lands are
That's
ruined
amazing.
and the champions of the light.
Now we get the neck.
Can no longer save those in
Yes.
need. But I will. For I wield the power they cannot. And a new army of the dead shall rise at my command.
He already looks so good. I don't know anything about it.
Threaten the balance. Beware.
It's like
Gosh,
2 months
wasn't
away.
that amazing? That was created by the Blizzard in-game cinematics team.
Nothing
so
at
big
all.
round of applause for them. That was awesome. Okay, so I'm excited to be here representing the Diablo art team to walk you guys through what it was like reimagining the Necromancer for Diablo 3. And this really gets to what sounds like a simple question, but when we kind of got into it, it gets a little bit complex because we had to answer this question, who is the Necromancer? And that question, on the surface, well, the Necromancer is a priest of Rathma who wields powers of the undead.
There he is.
Well, that sounds kind of boring
Look at
because what the Necromancer actually, as we found, is 16 years of player experiences. And when we started to talk to the team, we realized we had to go far and wide. And this is where, at Blizzard, we use this process called brainstorming and ideation. And that's where we get all the best ideas from all of our developers to get the best results we can get. Now, this first concept was, now this is all stuff that sort of influenced where we arrived about who the Necromancer was. This was created by Aaron Gaines, and this is sort of this theme of the Necromancer is the king of the dead, right? This was a very common thing that came up as we were developing the class.
Yeah, I don't know about that look.
This next one, this is by Victor Lee. I call this one
That looks
the
more
Hunter.
like a druid.
And this one is like, you know,
But,
the Necromancer
I
is
like that
this
one better.
fearsome character who like wears
I like
the
the second
trophies
one
of the
better.
dead on his armor. You know, he's got the demon head in his hand. He's got the scythe. You know, just looks completely badass. And then I call this guy, this is by Michael Frenchie, and I call this guy the Crypt Keeper.
That
because
one
he's
looks
sort of
more,
like, looks like he's literally
looks more
living with
witch
the
doctor.
dead. He's sort of got his hand out, he's smiling, his eyes are torn out, and he's sort of like, welcome to my crypt, you know, just a very happy necromancer to be living with the dead. Okay, so where did we arrive through this sort of ideation process?
Looks
And this
like more
landed us at this
vampire-y.
very simple
I like that.
statement, which is that the Necromancer is
I like that a
the
lot.
commander of the dead. That he is a rock star. This was an interesting theme that came up because he's got like an entourage of skeletons, right? Like the coolest entourage any rock star could ever dream of.
The
And we thought
female
that this
version
was a
looks
really
awesome, too.
cool theme that we could
She looks
access
really cool.
to bring the class forward into Diablo 3. And most importantly, the Necromancer is just cool.
That's true.
He's
It
one of the
needed to look
coolest classes.
cool,
This is when we
like
talked with
Wizard
everybody.
does, 'cause Wizard
The player
looks
stories,
very-
what, you know,
Wizard looks
wouldn't it
very
be cool
cool.
if the Necromancer did this? You know, there was just so much that we accessed there. And additionally, we had the fun task of introducing the first female Necromancer into the world of Diablo. Yeah. Okay, so now we know who the Necromancer is. The Necromancer is the commander of the dead. Now, now production begins. You know, this is sort of, we start to put all the pixels and polygons in their place. And this is the classic set. This is the set that, you know, our goal is to stay true to the Necromancer, to make sure that we're, you know, we're accessing those player stories as well as adding our own flavors to it. And we start to begin to add these flavors, and this is that theme, that hunter theme reimagined by Ryan Metcalf. And this is, you know, wearing the trophies of his enemies. This is, you know, trying to get all of the themes of the sort of paganism that we liked about that theme of
That one looks pretty
sacrifice.
interesting.
And then, of course, we have this
Aristocratic.
idea that the Necromancer is also a sophisticated character. And this comes through in this sort of aristocratic theme that we came up with. Okay, now we start to have some fun because we start to mix and match some of these themes that we discovered. And this is what I call the Bone Saint. And this is where we take the
Looks
idea that the
interesting.
Necromancer is all about the dead, but he's also a king. He's also, you know, kind of like a saint of the dead. And of course, now we have these really cool themes that are pure themes. And this is
Covered in
something that we
blood?
added to
All
the
right.
class, which
Okay.
is like, we wanted to do a whole armor set that was just all about blood.
And the Necromancer's shoulder pads, which are hearts, literally like pump blood as he runs through the world, wreaking havoc. And of course, what Necromancer wouldn't be complete without a full accoutrement of bone armor? That was sort of like, we knew we were going to do that, one of those pure themes that we were going to explore. That's by Victor Lee. So on the left, you can see the Necromancer from Diablo 2, and on the right, you can see our reimagined Necromancer in Diablo 3.
I like
and this was the first set that we did. This is that classic armor set.
Looks really good.
You saw it in the intro cinematic trailer. We really knew that we had to get this part of it right, and then we could begin to add all the cool themes that we had come up with in our journey of reimagining what this class would be like in Diablo 3. And of course, here they are together. The legacy continues. The Necromancers are back in Sanctuary, and we just couldn't be more excited about it. Thanks for this, giving this little tour of what it was like reimagining the Necromancer. Next up, our master of disaster, our lead effects artist, Mr. Julian Love.
That was good. That was good.
Wow, those armor sets are looking really sweet. I really want that blood set. Yeah, like in real life, I want that blood set.
Nah, player.
No. That speed dating.
No,
Awesome.
no, you can't have that blood set in real life.
So,
no.
you know, not everybody in the room today has played the Necromancer before. You might be a little unfamiliar. So as we take a look at the Necromancer from a gameplay perspective, I just want to start at the top, make sure we're bringing everybody along for the ride. So what is a Necromancer? Really quick, you know, they're what we would call a pet and ranged magic class.
Okay.
Darkly themed, very darkly themed. They're going to be our darkest class ever, for sure. Why are they so dark? Well, they're commanders of the dead, and that means they're going to be leading armies of skeletons and sometimes dead things and mostly dead things. And
really
oh yeah, and they're magic. Their magic centers on the manipulation of blood, bone, and reanimation.
I wonder
dark,
if we're going to be able to reanimate
themes.
dead
And of course,
bosses.
curses. Curses are like a personal wish onto your enemies that influences the outcome of battles. This is like dark, heavy stuff. Okay, so that's necromancy in a nutshell. Now, the thing you might have been asking yourself, looking at that first line, is, yeah, you know, pet and ranged magic class, like, isn't that the witch doctor? How are these two things going to be any different?
That's a good question.
And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked because, well, we built a bunch of slides and I'm obligated to talk about them. Okay,
I wonder
let's
how
do
they're
some
going to make
comparison,
it
right? Witch Doctor
pet class, but
versus
they're not going to make
Necromancer.
it
Let's
witch
see how
doctor.
they're different. Witch Doctor themes. We're going to start with themes because themes inform all the decisions that we make about developing a class. So really quick, you know this stuff. Witch Doctor, you got your zombies, right? Zombie dogs, zombie bears. And then you got your creepy crawlies, like spiders, snakes, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then you've got jungle culture,
stuff.
right? And you see this in things like Big Bad Voodoo, hexing, even fetishes. They're like a whole jungle culture inside the culture kit of the Witch Doctor. And, you know, here's the thing. Witch Doctors, they're dark, no question. But they're also kind of lighthearted. Like, if you really want someone to take you seriously, maybe you should ditch that plan where you turn into a chicken every 5 seconds and explode into feathers. Right? So now, let's compare that to the Necromancer a little bit.
Okay, so I understand
now, instead
the
of
theme
zombies,
thing,
we've got
but I'm
skeletons,
really more
corpses,
concerned about
reanimation. These are darker, grittier takes on the undead vibe.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it's going to be.
The curses, like I said, it's a very personal wishing.
How it's going to fundamentally be different,
right? And then magic that focuses on blood
the
and
themes
bone,
part I
like the
understand,
raw
but it could
materials of
be
life.
Exactly
And now,
the same.
I want you to see
as
now when you
Witch
look at all
Doctor,
that stuff, what it really adds up to is a class
the
that's
gameplay's the same.
very serious, grim, visceral, dark, right? Not a lot of humor going on in the Necromancer. So, you know, if you were thinking about swinging by the necropolis for drinks after work, just know, Priest of Rothma, happy hour, it's not a thing.
Yo, thanks for joining me.
All right. So now, what about do they play any different, right? We should talk about that. How are they going to play different? So I'm going to focus on pets for a second.
Yeah, Witch Doctor pets are passive.
Witch Doctor pets,
they go
entirely
they beat
passive,
stuff up.
right? You pick your pet skill, you put it in your button bar, you hit the button and pets come out, and then that's it. You don't do anything else. There's nothing to do. They just run off, they do their thing. So here's how we're going to make Necromancer pets different. All right? They're all going to be what we call active passives.
Okay.
Which might be a new term for you, but you've played skills like this. The monk mantras are a great example in that when you pick the skill, you get a passive benefit, but when you press the button for that skill, you also get a short-term active benefit that lets you interact with that skill in a strategic way.
Like mantras,
this is how
or
we're
they're
going to
gonna be
make
like
all Necromancer
logs,
pets.
where you
Let's
can
look
press
at
the
our
button
first
to make
skill,
them do
Command
stuff.
Skeletons, to see how this is
Okay.
going to play out. So when you pick Command Skeletons, you put it on your button bar, you're instantly going to get an army of 10 skeletons, some melee and some ranged. But when you activate the skill, it allows you to tell your pets, command them to attack specific targets, and then they get a damage buff for doing it. So here's the thing is, you don't have to wait for your pets to like be distracted on that whatever was going on the lower left corner of the screen.
Okay. So
You can lead them around the battlefield and selectively take down targets, the ones that you want.
Okay.
This makes them
So that's
a
really
very
slick, and
effective single
they get a
target
damage
takedown
buff.
skill. And they are a significant contributor to your overall damage output. So the difference between Witch Doctor and Necromancer now, Witch Doctor passive, Necromancer active.
Okay, that's
Okay,
cool.
what about resource? Let's talk about resource. Witch Doctor, as you know, is mana. The Necromancer, we're going to have a new resource called Essence. So here's how Essence is going to work. It's a large pool of resource. It's going to power a lot of your spenders, but it doesn't regenerate over time like mana does. You'll have to take specific action to get your Essence back. We'll talk about that in a minute. The really big news here, though, is that the the Necromancer has 2 resources. The other one is corpses. That's right. Corpses are actually like resource that's out in the battlefield laying on the ground.
Okay,
you
yeah.
generate them by
that
killing
makes sense.
monsters, right? And then you get to use that stuff to power
So
some
that
of
will
your
be really
skills.
cool if
Here's how we're bringing this
you have
gameplay
certain
feature
skills based on
forward
corpses.
into Diablo 3.
Like corpse
When a
explosion,
monster
or I guess
dies by any
reanimation.
means, whether you kill him or somebody else kills him,
So when you
in
kill
addition to the body that goes flying across the screen or gets melted into a sickly goo of acid or disintegrates,
so we're gonna have
there's
some.
going to
So
be a
this is
little
almost gonna
bit
be
of extra
maybe it's gonna be
corpse
dual
material
resource.
left behind that only necromancers can see.
Like
and
Demon
these
Hunter?
are the corpses that the necromancers
So
can use to power their
There'll be
corpse
some
skills.
things that you can't activate until
Really simple.
you kill
Now,
some mobs.
what would we be doing in a Diablo 3 game with corpses? Blow them up. That's right. Corpse explosion. We're bringing it forward from Diablo 2. We're going to let you blow corpses to smithereens. It works exactly as you'd expect. You got some corpses on the ground, some monsters nearby. Goodbye, monsters. Here's the thing is, we made it better. We let you blow up to 10 corpses at a time per click. It's totally unfair to monsters.
Wow, you get to blow up to 10 corpses
But here's
at a
the thing,
time?
They know better. They read the terms of service
That's
down
so
there, page
rude.
33. It said, might get exploded by corpse
That's
explosion.
so rude.
They made the choice. All right, so corpse
Hey,
explosion.
yo,
we're
guys,
bringing
thanks for
that
joining
forward,
me.
Right? What else? How about Bone Spear? You
All
need
right,
something to make
let's talk about
corpses
Bone
with,
Spear.
right? You got to kill stuff first before you get them. So Bone Spear works exactly like it did in Diablo 2.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, I mean, it
It's
had
a
piercing on it.
100% piercing projectile skill, powered by Essence. It's a significant damage output. It's great for killing monsters, making corpses. Now, once you've Bone Speared a few times, you're going to run out of Essence, so you have to do stuff about that. Now, Decrepify is a great way for us to keep monsters grouped together. So that's our first curse coming back from Diablo 2. The way that it works is you can curse a very broad area, right? And the monsters that are cursed by Decrepify will be slowed by 80%, have their damage output reduced by 20%. This is great for keeping monsters clumped together. So now, about that essence thing.
like the
How are you going to get your
line.
essence
Okay.
back when you've spent it all? This is where a new skill called Siphon Blood comes into play. Siphon Blood is a single target channeled spell that lets you quickly recover both life and essence by stealing it from your enemies. Right?
So you're
when
just
you
sucking
run out
blood
of
out of
essence,
them?
pull out Siphon Blood, refill on your essence, go back to your monster murdering mayhem.
That
And we've
looks
got
so
another skill,
rough.
Blood Rush.
All right.
You know, you need to be able to move around the battlefield quickly sometimes.
Blood Rush.
You know, pick up some gold, get some loot,
Now I saw this
G-riffs
on
and that sort of thing.
Quinn's channel.
So
'cause
Blood
it's
Rush
like,
is your skill
like
of
a
choice for
teleport.
this. The basic idea here is that when a Necromancer wants to move quickly around the battlefield, the skin, it gets in the way, right? If you could just get rid of that skin, you could go so much faster. So they throw off all their skin and organs and other gross bits, channel their blood forward, and then reappear on the other side. Mechanically, it has a lot
That's
of the
cool.
same features that Teleport has. It's very precise, lets you jump across chasms.
Okay, I mean, that's really cool.
All right, those skills that I've just covered are all the ones that you can play here in the demo at the show. But we didn't want to just leave you with those 6. We wanted to give you a peek into the future. You wanted that, right? You want more? Yeah, I thought. So let's take a look at, well, you know, we haven't talked about golems, right? What about Blood Golem? We're going to bring golems back. You're going to have multiple golems to pick from. But the first one we're going to show today is Blood Golem.
Oh, that's the Blood Golem.
Yeah.
That looks really nice.
Remember when I said the
Felt like he's got
Necromancer's
one
a
eye.
serious class? Look at that guy. All business. They're going to work a lot like they did in Diablo 2. They're going to be bigs, they're going to be brutes, and of course, because they're pets, they're going to be active passives. You're going to get to tell them to do things. It'll be really cool. One more. One more? I think we got one more.
Necromancer looks like it could end up being
if you're going to
a
be a
lot of
commander of
strategic
the
work,
dead,
but
I think it's
it'll
pretty
keep you
important
pressing
that at
buttons,
some
so
point
that's really cool. That's really
you've got
nice.
an army to command, right? Otherwise, right? So what if we could just summon all of the skeletons that have ever died in an area to come to help? And when I say that, I'm talking about a skill called Army of the Dead.
Excuse me.
How many skeletons makes an army? 20? 25? It's like a squad, right? That's not good enough. How about 50? 50 skeletons? That'd be good enough?
50
That's
skeletons
kinda
would be
like
a
a
lot.
platoon. I mean, I don't have my military manual here, but it's not 100. Who said 100? 100? How about 100 plus? Over 100. How are we going to do that? 100 plus skeletons?
That's a lot of
Bang your
skeletons.
command, attacking an area.
Over
What
100
is
skeletons,
that going to
that's
look
a
like?
lot of skeletons.
Awesome.
Oh, they just
Yeah.
like 300 you? Just
I got to tell you, I know when we've got a hit on our hands, when we make a skill, we put it in the game, because I can walk around the office and I'll see everybody with God mode on, and they're doing this.
oh. That's so many just wow.
Yeah. Look at all of those rib cages flying all over the place. Doesn't it just warm your heart? This is awesome.
So many
All right.
bones.
So that's been a look at the Necromancer from a gameplay standpoint. Encourage you to all
So much
head by
explosions.
the demo area and experience the Necromancer in all his necromantastic goodness. Back to Kevin.
Thank you, Julian. All right, so we're almost out of time. The Rise of the Necromancer pack is packed full of stuff. It's not just the Necromancer with everything you'd expect from the class. It's 2 character slots,
Cool.
2 stash tabs on PC, cosmetic
stash tabs on
goodies,
PC,
pets, portrait frames,
2
etc.,
character
etc.
slots.
So it's a lot of stuff, and more information will be
Nice,
coming in
nice,
2017
nice.
for
Okay.
that. If you haven't played him,
All right.
Hall C is the Diablo booth. Go play him. If you have played him, go play him again. And when is he coming out, I'm sure, is the main question you have. I'm going to say next year. Is that a good enough answer?
No, it's not good
All
enough
right.
answer.
Second half-ish. Yeah, you're welcome. So this is an early look for the Necromancer. We thought you guys would prefer to see it early and have to wait a little while for the fully featured class to be out, rather than just wait until next year and get it all at once. So I did hope you enjoy your sneak peek.
That's cool.
So real quick, the Darkening of Tristram comes out in 243 on PTR next week. Please come help us test that. It goes live on all of our platforms in January.
Okay.
And then later is the Armory and Rise of the Necromancer pack. Tomorrow at the Dev Talk Q&A, we do have a bunch of other things. We have a brand new game mode called Challenge Rifts. We're going to explain more about the new zones, a whole bunch of features around greater rifts and inventory management. Seasons are coming to consoles, so Xbox One and PS4 guys.
What Challenge
More
Rifts
info
are about,
on that tomorrow.
so I can catch up.
And we have
What do
lightning
you guys think of
talks
everything?
again
I thought
tomorrow
this
on the
was really
community
cool.
stage upstairs at the Dark Moon Fair on the 3rd floor. So if you're interested in
I'm
deep
digging
dives on
Necromancer.
any of these subjects,
Might have
some
to
of
wait
them
till
are
next
happening
year, but
tomorrow.
I'm digging it.
So
All right.
before we wrap it up, I do want to say one last thing. On behalf of this team, it is absolutely our privilege to be up here and represent this team. They so love you guys. They put their hearts and souls into this every day. They go above and beyond. They care what you think. They want you to have fun. They love this game as much as we do. Thank you.
Nice work. Very nice work.
And it's been 20 years. One last time, how about 20 more years?
20 more years. I'll give you 20 more years. Yeah.
Thank you very much. See you on the show floor.
All right. Well, that's it. I'm going to go catch some other stuff. I got to find out about Challenge Rifts. But you guys take care. God bless. And I'll see you next time.